welcome back. I apologize for the delay. Apparently Mike Lora's PC has completely died, so we're going to go ahead and give you, some... Oh dear. So I'm trying to get this up as fast as possible. Apologies for the technical issues.
10 seconds to go.
I am going to be not talking about this draft very in-depth, but for now we have a Spectre from BBC, Skyrath Mage, and Joe Ranger picked up by Virtus Pro. I'm trying to get everything up as fast as possible, so apologies to everybody who's just connecting in. Technical issues happen, and they're terrible. So let me go ahead and get up the stream. Originally it was Mike Loris who was supposed to be streaming this, but you know, shit happens. So we're going to get this up ASAP. Apologies for any delays that you are seeing on stream. We are going to be able to get this up. And thanks for sticking with us as we go through some pretty annoying technical issues. Okay, either way, hopefully the stream is up and all ready to go. Broadcast starts shortly. We do have a 2-minute delay, so apologies.
Ten seconds to go. 5 seconds. Reserve time.
Okay. Thanks for sticking through. I'm going to get this online ASAP. As for the last bands, very peculiar. A Spirit Breaker coming out from Virtus Pro. Honestly, with what they've already built for themselves, a Spirit Breaker would not be amiss. To everybody who's just connecting in, technical issues happen. Oh dear. Okay, so even more technical issues. My goodness, the stream on the side, it was not even muted. So you're gonna hear a beautiful echo from 2 minutes in the past, but that does assure me that the stream is online. Hopefully I can get a co-caster, and hopefully that co-caster is Mike Loras.
Ten seconds to go.
Alright, last pick for BBC. It's going to be a Wraith King. Looks like it's going to be a support Wraith King with Disruptor as the other support, protecting Spectre's farm. Zeus in the mid, Titan to the offlane. Their lanes are pretty solid, and as far as heroes to get up in the face of Drow Ranger, Spectre, a blinking Wraith King, and a blinking Tidehunter are pretty darn good ones. I particularly like the Spectre up against the Drow. It was something that was possible beforehand that Balkan Bears could do up against Virtus Pro. Okay, so Mike Loris is getting back into this game. So we'll hopefully have him on the call. Hi, Mike Loris, are you here?
I am, but my Dota is still currently opening. My entire computer is still booting, so computer troubles. It's always fun times there, but I see they have actually picked up the Drow Ranger. Watching that on the stream right now, so that's I gotta say I called it.
Absolutely. Razor's the last pick for Virtus Pro, and BBC will get Spectre and Wraith King.
All right, well, maybe eventually Dota is going to start. Here we go. Okay, reconnecting right now, so it shouldn't take that much longer, but yeah, hopefully the stream wasn't down for too long, guys. My apologies. Can't really prepare for the sudden crashes without any error messages or anything like that. I do see Spirit Breaker being banned out, and it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it is. I think it would have fit really well if the Balkan Bears have, to be fair, and getting up in the face of Drow Ranger and just charging her down every fight would be wonderful.
All right, well, you're still 2 minutes ahead, and my Dota is going pretty slowly, so I think it's going to have to be on you until I actually do reconnect. I'm stuck on my loading screen right now.
Well, lucky enough for you, we've actually started this game off with a pause. No surprises there.
Oh, fantastic.
So hopefully you'll be able to get in here before anything actually happens. I suppose I'll just introduce and run through both of the teams' lineups. We're going to have Solitude playing on the Wraith King, opening up with Boots first. Looks like it is just the support WK. Padrino going to be playing on the Spectre, we on the Zeus, presumably going towards mid, Levi on the Disruptor, and Hockey on the Tidehunter. On the Dire side, it is going to be Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro proper, Polar is already further on in the tournament. Jotum is going to be playing on Scarth Mage, God on the Dro Ranger, Yol playing on the Vengeful Spirit, Sedoy on the Razor, leaving last but not least Puck by BZZ.
Right, so Wraith King as support along with that Disruptor. Still, I'm not entirely sure where this Disruptor pick came from. I mean, I guess Disruptor is pretty good against Spectre, but as far as picking him up second, it seems just like kind of an odd hero to have picked up there. That being said, I don't think any of BBC's other heroes would have been better off in that second pick slot, so I guess Disruptor is justifiable in that regard. But with the draft that BBC have landed on, it's not too weird. I mean, it is a little bit on the weirder side, but yeah, just the Disruptor second pick is still a little bit jarring.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think they've made themselves a pretty decent lineup, and I'm excited to see what they're going to bring to the table. For now, we're going to see Spectre as well as Disruptor going up towards top, Tidehunter Wraith King down towards bottom, and Zeus mid, so maybe it is just straight up dual lanes for them. Not the lanes I was expecting, but up against this aggressive tri-lane coming out from VP, definitely makes quite a bit of sense.
And this tri-lane of VP, or all of their lanes from VP, are going to be very, very difficult to deal with. I mean, this is almost the dream lineup for Drow Ranger. Like, you have a whole bunch of right-clickers, you have a little bit of extra synergy there with the Vengeful Spirit, and you have a tanky frontliner who is also ranged in that Razor. So VP's lineup is very focused. It's, as usual, built around the Drow Ranger, and I think this is, one of the more perfectly aligned teams that I've seen with Drow Ranger involved.
Yeah, fair enough. For now, Drow Ranger's going to start out with that aura up against his Zeus. Should have a pretty easy time, especially if she gets just like a magic stick. The sustain in that lane is going to be pretty darn easy for the Drow. And Wee's not going to be able to deny any farm away from the Drow Ranger. Even starting out with an old Talisman first, it might secure him a couple of last hits, but outlasting a Drow is almost impossible.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Drow, even though she may want to go for Magic Stick, can't really benefit hugely from that extra mana, though I do think it is still going to be worthwhile in that regard. The last hitting in the lane should be more or less even, and the rotations, well, VP should be having them pretty much on lockdown. Assuming they get the Razor off to a good start, then the Vengeful Spirit and the Scarth Mage will be more than happy to rotate over towards mid, and Zeus is very, very easy to kill.
Definitely. We'll just have to see how that all works out. In dual lanes, it does get a little bit awkward to rotate your supports around since they aren't partnered up together. Top lane going to be scared by BBC. It's an illusion. Who that's going to pick, or who's going to pick that up, is still yet to be seen. Looks like they'll give it the way of the Wraith King. Vengeful Spirit is going to scare the Bounty Rune bottom, and for now the lanes are all going to be set up. It is just a full-on aggressive tri-lane coming up from VP. They'll secure an early rune, or ward, excuse me.
And they also bait out a Sentry Ward of the other side, so a minor win there. But this 3v2 lane is, well, first of all, the dual lane for BBC is extremely weak. Spectre is pretty much useless, and Disruptor is more or less useless. So that's two useless heroes against three very useful heroes, and well, you can do the math there. The BBC's top lane, I mean, it's maybe going to be a little bit better. They're going to keep Sedoy out of creep experience range, but I don't really know if they could actually get a kill on this Puck.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was expecting BBC to send the Spectre up towards top, actually. It looks like they might have out-mind-gamed themselves. They started out looking towards that, but they ended up deciding to just throw him up against the bottom lane. Jotum as well as Joel currently making a rotation towards mid. Do have a smoke, and killing this Zeus is incredibly easy, especially how aggressively Wee is playing in this lane. If they connect with the Magic Missile, I expect Wee to just be straight up dead. For now, he is going to back up behind his tower, and it looks like he's playing defensively enough now, and the supports are just going to walk away from mid.
And you could see just how threatening this bottom lane is for VP. Razor's all alone, yet he's still zoning out the Spectre and also harassing the Disruptor at the same time. So it's a 1v2 now lane on the bottom lane, and Puck taking a lot of damage top lane. He's going to drop, but it's going to be mid lane where they do get their initiation off. Yellow's going to get a lot of lightning dumped into him, and he will be going down. God, with those Frost Arrows, should be making this a 1-for-1 in the middle lane. Don't exactly know what happened to the Puck, and I guess just level 1. Only with the phase shift, can't get out from under both the Wraith King and the Tidehunter. Did end up going down, making it a 2-for-1 overall for BBC.
Yeah, I suppose they just baited out the phase shift. Once the phase shift's gone, if you connect with the Ray Fire Blast, Puck is fairly squishy. Outside of that, I wouldn't have expected him to die, and honestly, I thought mid would be our first split.
I mean, we weren't too far away, but Vengeful Spirit just getting in a little bit too close is still a very soft hero, still going into a level 4, maybe level 3 hero Zeus at that time. G is going to drop very low to we. However, with the concussive shot, we will be pushed back now. Jotum's got to be very careful, though. He's only a Skywrath mage. We is going to be going down here, dropping 2 heroes down so low, but if you can't actually kill them, it's irrelevant. He's going to be wishing he had level 6 right about now.
Definitely. Just walking circles around this Zeus at the early portion of the game, incredibly immobile, with just 295 movement speed. Yeah, it's very unfortunate for him. If he was able to secure those 2 kills, could have been wonderful for him, but in the end, it's going to be VP to collect. Down in bottom, the Spectre hasn't been able to pick up any farm at all, and now that the sports are here, that's not going to change. Scarth Mage is back into base, but as you said earlier, just the Razor here is enough to put pressure onto the Spectre. If a link comes through, Spectre last hitting is abysmal, and now with the Magic Missile flying through, Pedrino is going to be forced to use that Spectral Dagger. They need a little bit more damage, can't find it because of the kinetic field, and BCC as well as Joe are going to be forced back, but then again, Spectre's not farming, and in that sense, threat's diffused already.
Yeah, this is pretty much a fully one lane Razor going up against 2, and he's doing just fine. He's keeping the Spectre off of the creep wave, kind of restricting her experience as well. And I mean, it's level 4 Razor versus 2 level 2 heroes. There's no way these 2 heroes down on the bottom lane for BBC are going to have a good time moving forward. They need to get rid of this Razor somehow, but I don't even know how they're going to be doing that. In the meantime, mid, Wee is going to get jumped by a concussive shot, level 2 Frost Arrows with level 3 Aura. Wee's going to take a truckload of damage, but Solitude is here. He's going to turn things around onto Jotum. They will not have enough damage for this one. G in the meantime taking tower shots. They're going to try to smoke to get the Zeus a little bit closer, and with the Skywrath Mage going into a corner, they might actually get this kill. No, Jotum's going to dig his way through, but he ran out of tangos, and now he's literally stuck. He's going to go down. I think he was fine if he just ran in a straight line, like not trying to juke, but trying to be a little bit too cute, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. I think if he had the tangos, going through the trees is a little bit more secure than just running in a straight line. But I do think that running in a straight line would have secured his life in that sense. So either way, G's going to ferry out himself a salve back up to full HP. G has been involved in 2 kills and is farming well in this mid lane. VP are getting quite a bit out of all of these lanes, even Sidoi, after giving up first blood. 14 and 3, can't really call it a bad performance from him. He's going to be well on his way towards a pretty fast level 6 and subsequent Blink Dagger.
And he's not too far behind Hockey. Like, even with the additional help from Solitude in that mid on the top lane, poking a little bit, keeping the Puck back, it hasn't ultimately resulted into all that much, since Puck is pretty much where he should be, and a little bit worse than where he would ideally like to be, but it's perfectly acceptable for the Puck to be here. Whereas you compare that to the Spectre, who's way far behind where she would like to be, and Razor is pretty much on point. Overall, the laning stage is very heavily benefiting VP. I mean, they don't need these 2 support heroes. Like, if it was just 3 heroes, the Drow Ranger, the Razor, and the Puck, VP would be doing just fine.
Yeah, and that frees up the Skywrath Mage and the Vengeful Spirit to look for rotations. So they're going to go up top, but Sidoi's going to be able to jaunt to his Illusory Orb. This is what I would expect to happen, at least for that first blood kill, and I'm going to just say that that first kill was a fluke. Sidoi should be just fine, as long as he doesn't throw out his Illusory Orb for farming and gets the phase shift baited out.
Yeah, and then Puck should be just slowly farming up on this top lane. I don't actually know what BBC can do to, like, break this mold. They don't really have great gankers, as we said before. Maybe with Haunt and Thunder God's Wrath, they can very easily surprise a softer hero VP, maybe crash them in the jungle or something like that, but that's not going to happen for a little while longer. I mean, Spectre's only level 4. Zeus has hit his level 6, but I don't know if Zeus just by himself can, dig BBC out of this slowly growing hole. If he goes up to the top lane, there is a chance, but his movement was already spotted out by a dire observer.
Yeah. Vengeful Spirit going to make, or attempt to make, a stack of Ancients. I'm not exactly sure what happened to that small Black Drake. It just decided not to follow anything, so either way, that's not going to happen, but Yol immediately smoked up, looking towards the mid lane. Spectre is making a move that I quite like. Down at bottom, you can't find anything, so Spectre's at least looking to find rotations and get some farm in mid or in the jungle at the medium camp. It's incredibly slow farm, and Spectre is pretty much completely shut down, but at least Pedrino is trying to accomplish something.
Yeah, and trying is probably the best that he could do. Jungling the Spectre is pretty darn slow. You could get a little bit of choke point jungling going, and he has a Quelling Blade, so it's possible, but it's going to be Wee in the mid lane to once again be under some pressure. He is fast enough to get under that concussive shot, and he will be just fine, but I mean, VP, they're poking and prodding. They're keeping BBC off balance. I think They also did have to TP in there with Solitude, so it's once again not anything committed there by VP. They just had 3 heroes there that weren't going to be doing much anyway, and they come away with the TP scroll. And it's not a huge win, but they are not really spending anything for it. Like, they have free farming heroes in the meantime.
Yeah, I mean, they spent a smoke, so I think just raw gold values are pretty much even. Up and top, Drain Coil committed on Hockey. They'll have a Magic Missile to follow up. He's going to Anchor Smash that off, doesn't matter. He's going to follow up in the top lane. Kill score is 3-3. And just in raw farm, VP are finding so much out of this map.
Yeah, this is already getting very out of control from BBC. This is kind of why you pick up a Zeus, is to have like a lot of this early mid-game power, because, well, the rest of the heroes can't really do that much. They have a Ravage now up. I think BBC's best chance is to try to take a large-scale fight. With the power of Ravage and Thunder God's Wrath, they might be able to just brute force their way through VP, and then they might be able to turn things around. They're going to try to go for Seedoy, but it's so easy to phase shift that stun, but it's not easy to phase shift the follow-up skills, as Zeus is going to drop his ultimate, get 2 kills. I think one of them was accidental on the Vengeful Spirit. We meant to do that for the puck. Pedrinho, in the meantime, is going to be chased down by the Razor. Will make it out to safety, but Levi might not be as lucky. The Arcane Bolts needs 1 more, and I think he's not fast enough. Does he really want to go for this? 1 bolt is all you need? No, he's going to get fogged, and now here comes Pedrinho from around the corner. He's going to whiff his dagger, and Jotun going to turn around and man-fight Pedrinho. He's just going to feed himself to the Skywrath Mage. Not a good idea. In the meantime, over towards mid, is going to try to dive the Drow Ranger. That's not going to work well either. It's nothing but wins here for VP.
Yeah, outside of that double kill for Wii, it was absolutely disastrous. If they didn't get that, like, this game is looking so grim for them. The Zeus as well as the Tidehunter, when they have their ultimates, they really need to look and find those kills. I think that's their best way back in this game, but it's so hard without, like, a positioning tool. Like, Blink Dagger on these 2 heroes would be wonderful, but they're just not finding enough gold to where that's going to come out at any decent time. Tier 1 tower down in bottom is going to be pushed by BZZ, but not in its entirety, going to be dropped to less than 600 HP, before BZZ is probably forced back. But honestly, there's very little the enemy team can do about this Razor in the bottom lane. Already well on his way towards a mechanism, has Power Treads, Aquila, and the Buckler.
Alright, so we saw the Thunder God's Wrath being used, we saw the Ravage being used, they got 2 kills out of it. That's probably kind of the right thing, or I mean, is that even good enough? Like, if you use those ultimates for only 2 kills, in any other game I would say, yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's perfectly acceptable, but in this game, where they're just getting so massively out-farmed, I think they have to go for, you know, a little bit more. They need 3 or 4 if they're going to be committing both of their big team fight ultimates.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If they didn't lose any heroes in response, I think it's still acceptable, but only just. I think they need to look for more, and they definitely can't be losing anything when they do get those kills. Razor gets the tower destruction down in bottom. Nothing the Spectre can really do. Maybe pulls off the creep aggro with a Spectral Dagger here or there, but actually doesn't matter. BZZ now has the mechanism recipe and just a handful of gold away till they have the mech. God is gone for the full agility build. 3 Wraith Bands working presumably towards a Yasha next. Power Shreds. Everybody's already hitting incredibly hard. 40 extra damage with just 1 level up into the marksmanship.
My god, this is disgusting how much damage they're all getting. There's another, like, +5-ish or something like that given by the Vengeful Spirit, which is not too relevant just yet, but it will only increase, not to mention the minus armor. Pedrinho is in the wrong neighborhood right now. He's going to get hit with a concussive. Vengeful Spirit looking for a swap back. It's going to be in range. There's the Haunt out. Pedrinho might be able to get away because of this confusion. No, it's not really going to work. However, Vengeful Spirit will go down. They take the Spectre in trade, and that's totally worth it. Jotun might be going down here as well. We just need 1 more chain lightning. No, 14 HP. The Skywrath Mage survives, and that will be him walking away, making a 1-for-1 trade support for a pure carry. And that's pretty much as good as it gets for VP as far as trades are concerned. So they got to be happy about that one, and that was also Thunder God's Wrath used.
Yeah, this Spectre is just so sad. Currently going for what looks like an earn build, maybe just like 2 casual gauntlets of strength. Spectre hasn't been able to find anything, and although it's hard to count out a Spectre, you might be able to. Up and top the Dream Coil, they'll be able to bring down the Disruptor. They turn for a stun onto God, but they just don't do enough damage. Solitude's dropping incredibly low. Sedoy might end up falling, doesn't have a Illusion Orb. Phase Shift, he's trying to get out of here alive. There's going to be a Blink Ravage. It's going to land onto G and kill off the puck on impact. G, dropping low, is going to lose his life. Reincarnation was also spent there. They find themselves 2 kills. Is it enough? I don't think so, but at least it's keeping them in the game.
Yeah, they need to be ahead, if not, I mean, even if not ahead of the VP side for BBC. And I mean, that fight was pretty much as the best that they could hope for. Drow Ranger, because she has gone for such an agility-heavy build, is still very easy to bring down, at least until she has her Yasha. Then it'll be a little bit more difficult, but not when you're working with the Blink Ravage. That is pretty much going to ensure her death every single time. VP lose a couple heroes up on top lane. However, they're still doing very well in this game. They have yet to take any of these towers seriously, but with the amount of damage they're packing now, plus 42 from the Drow Ranger, they will be able to very easily clean out tier 1s, assuming they have enough heroes in the area, and it's just a matter of them deciding to do that. If they want to do so, they could probably just take a tier 1 right now.
Yeah. We is going to be fighting up against G, but now Silence Up forced to pop the haste rune. They'll blink in, gush onto G, but now Silence Up. Hockey can't do very much. Through Thunder God's Wrath, they just need a little bit more damage, and a Thunderbolt will do him in. We is going to be able to find a little bit of something, and this is where Zeus really starts to hit his stride, with the maxed out Thunderbolt as well as almost maxed out passive.
And this is also being helped out a lot by the fact that Hockey does have his Blink Dagger up, and this is a Blink Dagger that Puck will have soon as well, so Hockey's not going to have a monopoly on that, especially when he might get caught now as he blinks awkwardly into the trees. No, VP, they're not going to head down to the south, but Tidehunter just being able to blink gush in, get a little bit of extra slow onto someone like a Drow Ranger. I mean, it's not a full-on stun, but when you're just setting up for a couple more casts of Arc Lightning, maybe another Lightning Bolt, that can and will make the difference, as we have seen already. So, I mean, these are the tools that BBC need to actually have. They're going to be taking these fights, and it's working out pretty well for them so far, but now here's the real challenge. They do not have Ravage, yet they're being pushed. Can they defend?
I'm not exactly sure, especially since we doesn't have the greatest of mana pools right now. Yeah, it's about 500, which should be enough for one fight, but this tower, the best they can hope for is to deny. Let's see if it's going to come out. Not going to happen. There's a nice static storm kinetic field, but it only locks in BCC, and they don't focus him down immediately, pops the mech, and is going to be able to just walk casually out of there. Ultimate spent for pretty much nothing.
It's not the longest cooldown ultimate, at least they didn't burn a Ravage or anything like that, but still VP, they walk right in, they take a tower, they walk right out, easy peasy. Now they're going to walk to the Roshan pit where they're also going to take another objective. There's no medallion or anything like that, which I would love to see on Yol right now, but this Roshan is dropping way too quickly. BBC, they're making a beeline for it, but it should be too late unless VP actually fall back.
Looks like they're deciding against it. It is fairly risky to fight inside the Roshan pit up against the Tidehunter, and they don't have vision of where all of these heroes on BBC are. They're going to get a swap. They found themselves but it's not going to be enough damage. A nice Ravage landing onto 3. They're going to be able to blow them up with the Zeus. Puck's still surviving on very minute amount of HP, and now with the Link going the way of Pedrino, he's losing pretty much all of his damage. They're going to drop an Anchor Smash onto BCZ. The Dro is going to drop a couple of Ice Arrows into Hockey. The damage isn't immediately enough as BCZ. They're going to go back to the Dro. There is a kinetic field going to lock them both in place. BCZ the first to lose his life, and now Dro, isolated away from the enemy team, is going to take a huge amount of damage from Pedrinho with that Desolate, and that's going to be a very favorable exchange for BBC. Puck survives somehow on the sidelines, able to bottle up, going to throw a loser over the top, looking for Levi, is going to be fire blasted up. Zedoy should be able to make it out alive. Sounds is up, not going to happen. His damage is just too much.
It's still a 2 for 4, maybe a little bit more. Solitude is going to run into Jotum. Yol's coming in hot as well, looking for that swap once again. With the Concussive, they might be able to get it, but Concussive's not available. What the hell was that swap range? That was the longest swap I've ever seen, but Solitude is going to be going down. VP, at the end of it, make it a 3 for 4, I believe. They salvaged that fight pretty decently, but for BBC, first of all, that Ravage landed onto pretty much everyone. Second of all, Zeus, I mean, he was initiated upon, but he ended up on the high ground, and he was still able to throw out all of his spells from there and actually connect those spells as well. So that was pretty much the perfect positioning from Zeus. It literally does not get any better than that. So for BBC, they take a very nice fight, but the problem is that they need their ultimates to take these fights, whereas VP don't. They're going to go right into the Roshan pit, finish that one off, and because they have no reliance on their ultimates, they could look for even more objectives.
Yeah. Right now, the golden experience graphs are fairly even. Slight advantage towards VP after getting that Roche gold. 2,000 in their favor. The experience is slightly in favor of BBC since they have been able to take a couple of these fights, but that's now pared down to 2,000 advantage either way. Right now, this Spectre just needs more time to get online. Phase Boots and Urn is okay, maybe like 5 or 7 minutes ago, but Pedrino just needs more time, and right now, they are buying a decent amount for this Spectre, but no Radiance is going to be coming out anytime soon, if that's even the item of choice.
Well, you're holding 19, almost 2,000 gold for Pedrinho. I think it has to be a Radiance, otherwise he would have picked up, if he was going for Vanguard, it would have been a Vit Booster. If he was going for Diffusal, would have been a Blade of Alacrity. Either way, he doesn't have either of them. Looks like we're going to have a fight breaking out in the Radiant Ancient Pit. They're going to jump in for Jotum. They're going to annihilate the Skywrath Mage, and it looks like that should just about be it. G's very low, but he has an Aegis. They're going to reinitiate onto Levi. Has his ultimate, but he can't quite get it off. Ravage from the high ground is going to connect onto 3 with God being very low. Will get gushed down. Aegis is going to proc, but he's not going to have any backup when he does pop back up. Solitude has a Wraithfire Blast awaiting him, and he's going to land that G. His Gust went the complete wrong direction, and he will be going down. Now Yul and Cedo slowed down because of the reincarnation from the Wraith King. They're going to swap back Yul for, yeah, I mean, that was fine, I guess. He's going to be going down anyway to the Lightning Bolt. He's going to collect a triple kill. In the meantime, last hero to survive is going to be Cedoy running into a corner. Solitude is in hot pursuit, but this is a puck we're talking about. The odds of Solitude actually getting away with this are slim to none. It's still a massively won team fight for BBC as they actually do force out the buyback from the puck. They take out the Aegis and they take out everyone from VP, only losing a couple of their support heroes.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Suddenly, Wee is sitting on 2,000 gold on top of his 4-staff, Arcanes, Null Talisman, Bottle. Zeus is looking pretty good. If he gets a Blink Dagger on top of this, his positioning should be pretty much perfect in the fights, and that's exactly what you want. Every time those Thunderbolts land, it's just an absurd amount of damage up against VP, especially for the Drow and the Skywrath Mage, who are just so squishy. I mean, Drow Ranger, she has a lot of stats now, with the Strength Treads as well as working towards the S and Y, but they'll find a static Storm Kinetic Field, they'll bring down the puck, they are able to pursue him, and that's one of the best ways to lock down a puck, just that AoE silence.
And if you can't blink out of that from, when you see it coming, or if you're not going to phase shift it first thing, you're just going to die. There's not really much that you could do because Puck is such a soft hero. They're now going to try to mount a defense over towards mid. They're going to throw a Wraithfire Blast onto the Razor, yank him back into the tower. Here comes Hockey, does not have a Ravage, but Yul is going to swap out BZZ, but he's going to get struck by lightning. He will be going down. Levi will be the trade right now, but John's still being chased down by Pedrino and Hockey. They're going to take him out as well. Wee's going to force that up to the high ground, keep himself alive while throwing lightning bolts at the same time. Now BZZ, the only survivor from VP, he's being chased down by pretty much everyone. Solitude is not going to get that kill, nor is Hockey. I think this Urn will, though. And yes, Razor's going to go down, making it a 5-for-2. Once again, BBC clean house, with once again only losing their 2 support heroes.
Wow. Ridiculous fight. That 4-staff from Wee was immaculate. Pretty much max range up to the high ground over here. And then finds himself another angle for yet another Thunderbolt. You can't ask for much more from your Zeus, and it's a hero that doesn't get much respect. I don't know. Zeus is definitely deserving of some more pickage, but BBC utilizing him well, and just like that, Spectre has been able to find quite a lot. Usually I'm not one to like the Urn on Spectre, but how active they've been utilizing it and how much value it's gotten for Pedrinho, I think it's been completely fine, and just like that, Spectre now has the Relic after an abysmal early start, 8-2 and 8. You can't really ask for much more. BBC are back into this game where I thought there wasn't much hope.
All right, so do you know how before I was like, well, they use the Thunder God's Wrath and Ravage for 2 heroes. Is that enough? Probably not. Well, now they're using Thunder God's Wrath and Ravage for 5 heroes, and my god, that's enough. I mean, these are the ideal fights for BBC. Like, they pretty much don't get any better than that, and even in that last fight, they didn't even have the Ravage from Hockey. They just ran down VP as VP. I mean, their Razor is pretty tanky, but when he's being focused down by all this lightning, by pure damage of the Spectre's Desolate, he is going to crumble, and without that, VP, they need someone to hide behind just because they're so soft. They're going to be relying on kiting and the Dream Coil mostly. That's really difficult when you have, a Wraith King charging your front, a Spectre just bypassing everything, and a Blinking Tide Hunter. So, for these fights, VP, they really have to shape up, and I don't know, maybe it's got to be BKBs that they have to wait for, and Drow Ranger looks like she is building hers. I at least sincerely hope it's going to be a BKB, as Sanjin Yasha is not going to redeem these fights.
Yeah, it really isn't. Razor looks like he's building towards one as well, but until VP have those, it's going to be really hard. Spectre are going to be able to haunt towards the sidelines. There's going to be Ravage. They catch out the Razor, and now burst him down very low. Thunder God's Wrath spent. Wee's going to be able to burst him down. That's a double kill. That's Thunder God's Wrath and Ravage for 2 kills, but at this point, it's worth it. Let's see if they can clean up any more. It looks like the answer is no.
Man, this is Razor we're talking about. This is the hero that everyone's like, oh my god, he's so tanky. How do we kill the Razor? No, they just went ahead and killed him. I mean, they used a Ravage for it. We dumped a whole bunch of lightning into that Razor, which shouldn't work, but it did work. For whatever reason, the Zeus was able to do so much damage there, and that's a very easy 2-kill for BBC. They're down without their ultimates now. That was all of their ultimates being used for that little engagement. So if ever there's a time for VP to make a play, this will be it, knowing that there's no Thunder God's Wrath, no Ravage, no Haunt. But, I mean, they just got cleaned up, 3 consecutive times? Are they really going to feel confident enough going for a push after that?
Then again, That's also some really major items for BBC. We now has enough gold to purchase up a completed Bloodstone Spectre now with the Radiance, and Tidehunter, he has 4-staff Blink Mechanism, probably going to be working towards a Refresher next, but for this point in the game, Tidehunter's a happy camper and can't really ask for much more. Even the Wraith King, he's sitting on a Blade Mail, Power Treads. As far as support farm is concerned, this is looking pretty good. Disruptor's dirt poor, but he's a Disruptor. He's there for the static Storm and Glimpse and not much else.
This is probably the most farm I've ever seen on a Tidehunter for 21, 22 minutes into the game. He's actually on top of the net worth chart, which is very, very rarely seen. He has all the mobility items he could possibly want and a mech to boot. I think you might go for a Refresher here. Maybe you even want to go for something like a Shiva's Guard. Either way, this Tidehunter is going to be collecting a hell of a lot and only dying once, getting 16 assists, 4 kills. Pretty much every single fight has had hockey in it. And that's going to lead to a lot of gold and a lot of experience. He almost has a level 3 Ravage. And we took a quick look at the levels of VP. They're pretty much capped out on level 13. So this Tide is doing so extremely well for himself and for the team.
Yeah. After a shaky start, BBC, pretty much all they needed was those levels to start making some fights, and then the subsequent Blink Daggers. It's looking really good for them. For VP, what do they need to do to make sure these team fights look better for them? I think looking for pickoffs is probably a better option, but where exactly is that opening? Petrino, he does have Haunt if he really needs to get out to safety, and Spectral Dagger means that Spectre is pretty elusive as well, and not the easiest of kills. They'll have to commit quite a lot for it. Gil Scepter on the puck's kind of a nice item, and Draw Ranger is going to have that BKB, but until the blocking bars are up for their cores, VP aren't going to be comfortable taking fights, and even then, I'm not sure if comfortable is the right word.
I mean, the fight on the bottom lane, the way that started was VP trying to go for a pickoff on the Spectre, and we saw how well that went out for them. So, though getting pickoffs is going to be ideal for them, it's once again a situation where they already tried that and already didn't work, so trying to go for it again might just be, you know, definition of insanity right there. Going for Roshan is probably the easiest thing that they could do, but that's only if they somehow draw out the Ravage beforehand, because Tidehunter is the king of the Roshan pit, or one of the kings of the Roshan pit. Zeus and Spectre are also pretty damn good in those tight corners as well, so VP, they could very quickly bring down Roshan, but it will be at tremendous risk. And, I mean, I don't really know. It's going to be them getting initiated upon this time. I think so far VP have been starting the fights, but this time it's not going to be the case. Razor's going to get spotted out by a Dagger, is going to try to straight TP out. Small glimpse back, and now PZZ is in a lot of trouble. Wraith Fire Blast and just Spectre doing the damage, although Hockey is going to get his assist as well. Padrinto's going to draw a godlike streak off of that one. My god, I didn't realize Spectre was getting this many kills. This tower is now soon to fall.
Yeah, it does draw out the Haunt, but with Thunder God's Wrath and Ravage still up, BBC are in a great situation to fight, especially with Pedrino's actually there. The nice thing about Haunt is you can join the fight, and although it does a lot of damage to these supports, I mean, if you just look at Yol and Scarth Mage's health, they're already dropped down to at least a third just from one Haunt illusion. But either way, BBC are in fit fighting shape, whereas VP aren't. They do have the BKB on their Draw Ranger, but that in and of itself isn't enough. They're looking to split push as best they can, and that's what you kind of have to do right now.
And I think BBC, they should fall back and try to defend these other lanes, and they will do exactly that. Satisfied with the fact that they took down a tier 1 tower, as I think they should. Really, BBC, they're in no rush because they have a Spectre, even though late game Drow Ranger, her plus damage and, you know, the amount of DPS she gives the team is absolutely insane, all the way up to almost plus 50 at this point. A Spectre is just able to shut that down so hard. You just haunt right on top of the Drow Ranger, and then what is she going to do? She loses all her marksmanship bonuses, which means that everyone's damage is going to decrease to, like, what, plus 15 or something like that, and suddenly that's not too impressive any longer. The late game should be in the hands of BBC because they have Haunt and they have Thunder God's Wrath. The support heroes, the weaker heroes from VP, are going to pretty much just die to that combo later on, if not, you know, be completely just terribly wounded.
Yeah, definitely, and Draw Ranger and company might just kill themselves on Dispersion as well. Pedrino gets his heart completed, and he's already really difficult to deal with. He's going to throw a dagger behind the tower, doesn't spot anything out. Buck is in the guise of smoke. He's now jumped in. He does get the silence drink while onto 2. Mystic Flare is going to drop Levi incredibly low. The mechanism heals him up a little bit for now. Static Storm onto literally nothing. Levi's still surviving on the backline. Solitude might be losing his ultimate, but that's about all he's going to lose. There's a Ravage coming through. That lands onto hardly anything except for the poor Scarth Mage. He's going to be brought down. Buyback from the Razor. They're continuously chasing G. G is going to be dropped to Pedrino. One more Desolate attack, and now BZ's joining this fight after buyback. Looks like it's going to be a dieback for this Razor, and he's also going to drop. Yet again, another full team wipe. All they lose is a Disruptor, and this time it's 1 for 6. GG called out by Jotum.
My God, I thought this game was going to go so completely differently. With the start that VP had, they had, so much lane dominance. They had all their lanes going well for them. They had CS up the wazoo. Yet, once the team fights actually started happening, they just could not stand up to the Thunder God's Wrath Ravage combo. It was just too much, and BBC ultimately end up taking that game. An astounding display from the Radiant team.
Yeah, it really was. Lose all lanes, come back to win after some really well-coordinated team fights. Their workaround through those ultimate cooldowns was beautiful. I don't know, I'm excited to watch them play again, and let's see if VP are going to be able to bring this back into game number 2. Maybe they just have to change their thought inside the draft. Joe Ranger might not be their thing. We'll just have to see. Later on, this is going to be the Battle of Central Europe Season 3 here on HeflaTV HB1. I'm GrandisV, joined by Mike Lors, and we'll be back soon.